The Devils had a disappointing season last year, by their high standards, finishing 4th in league standings, with 75 points. They were 2 points behind the Steelers, 7 points behind the Flames, and 9 points behind league champions, the Belfast Giants. They also struggled to get it done in the Cup and playoffs. They didn't have any major flaws, but I do think team scoring was a bit of an issue. They finished with 192 goals for in the league, which was good for 4th in goal scoring. Despite having standouts like Sanford, Martin, and Cox, their depth scoring struggled to find the net consistently. I also think inconsistencies between the pipes were at times costly. They have high expectations in Wales, and the Devils will be looking for some hardware this year, and there is reason for optimism. Let's take a look at the season ahead for the Devils. But before we begin, let's look at some notable exits. Firstly, Brodie Dupont exits as head coach. This was his first experience as full head coach, transitioning to off-ice with the Devils. I think he was okay as a stopgap behind the bench, to say it was his first go at it, but it was clear this was not a permanent solution. I hope Dupont gets another opportunity elsewhere, perhaps a few seasons an assistant coach. Brodie Reid departs for France. He had an explosive year in his first season with the Devils, but struggled to find the net in year 2. Jake Koffler also moves on for the German second-tier league. Similar situation to Reid, he had an excellent first year, but struggled to find the net consistently last year. A number of guys stay within the league. Josh Bratton joins the Stars attach. Kozin gets an opportunity as the number 1 in Coventry. And Blake Thompson joins the D-Corps for the Blaze. Overall, I don't think they lost anything major that they couldn't replace. I think they let the right guys go, and kept the essential core from last season. Now let's look at this year's roster. Firstly, Pete Russell comes in as head coach. I will link below my video on that move. I think it's a decent move, and I think he is an improvement on Dupont. However, I didn't love him in Glasgow, and I think some of his decisions with GB have been questionable. So let's see how he gets on. So this is the roster as they currently stand. As always, these lines are guesswork until training camp, but this is what I think the team could look like. In net you have Ben Bones and Callum Booth. I have them as 1A and 1B, as I believe there will be healthy competition for the top spot.
On D, I have Crawford with Donaghy,
Rimeshaw with Richardson, and a third pair of Batch and Mosey. I could see Donaghy and Richardson swapping, but this is how I would have it for now. On the forward lines, I have a top line of Cox, Martin, and Sanford. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Rounding out the top 6 I have Ollie, Arniel, and Crandall. Although Crandall could be moved to the third to set up Waller. On the third line I have Waller, Bush, and Barrow. Breaking up that all-Brit line. I just cannot justify Waller being on the fourth line. Rounding out the forward group I have Brandt, Davis, Duggan, and Pietrangelo. Okay, let's go through it in detail. In net we have Ben Bones. I love Ben Bones, he has been a Devils and Team GB legend. Last season he had a share of highlight reel saves, and great games. However, I think at times he let in some really soft goals, and that inconsistency did hurt the team. He needs a bounce-back season if the Devils are going to do damage this year. In the 1B position we have Callum Booth. At 26 they get him at a good age. He has moved around a fair bit throughout the East Coast League the last 6 years, earning multiple American League call-ups. His average in the East Coast League is a 90.7 save percentage, and a 2.76 goals against average. Those numbers are pretty average. However, he seems to thrive in the big moments. In the playoffs he has an impressive 92.1 save percentage, and in his American League call-ups a 91.2 save percentage. I think he will be competing for that top spot. On D, Marcus Crawford returns. And we know what he can do. He is going to be above a point per game, and run the power play. Last season he was voted top defenseman in the league. My only question is, can he follow up on his elite league debut? Paired with him I have Cody Donaghy. Credited with an excellent slap shot, I can see him receiving silky passes along the blue line from Crawford. He also enjoys jumping up into the rush, so I could see him paired with a more defensive-minded partner. He is a good puck-moving defenseman, and I love the idea of an all-out attacking pair with Crawford. On the second pair I have Mark Richardson. He is one of the most reliable blue liners in the league, and he is an underrated puck mover. My only concern is at age 36, and 37 when the season gets going. When does the drop-off begin? I hope the Devils can manage his minutes and matchups effectively. With him, I have River Rimsha. This is probably the most intriguing player for me. He has a cracking slap shot, and I could see him getting some power play looks, although he is likely third in line. He carries some healthy size, and they get him entering his prime at age 26. He is for sure a top 4 defenseman that can play in all situations. On the third pair I have Josh Batch. I have seen criticism of his game in recent years. I know his speed is at times an issue, but I think that has been exposed by inexperienced coaching. If Russell deploys him appropriately, I think he is still a good defenseman, and brings some much needed size and physicality. Then we have Evan Mosey, completing the D-core. I love Mosey, but for me this is the most concerning part of the blue line. Looking at the top 4 the Devils have, I am not sure what Mosey can add here. I would have actually preferred to have him on the forward group, perhaps with Josh Waller, combining their speed. I personally think they needed a true shutdown guy for that third pair. However, Russell knows Mosey very well from Team GB, so hopefully he can carve out a solid role for him. To me the blue line is a bit concerning. I think they will move the puck, but are they going to defend the zone well? Only time will tell. Now let's look at the forward group. I have the top line as Cox, Martin, and Sanford. Let's not waste any time here, we know what to expect from these guys. This is a fantastic top line. Sanford is going to score 40+ goals, Cox is going to get 50+ assists, and Martin will be one of the best two-way centermen in the league. Now we come to this new look second line. On the left wing, I have newcomer, Cole Ulley. He is a point-per-game player in the East Coast League, which is comparable to the Elite League. He is a great passer, but he also has an underrated shot, and I think he could put up numbers in this league, providing he has guys that can get him the puck in the right areas. He should be good for 20 goals, and maybe somewhere in the region of 60 points. But he also brings some good experience from the American Hockey League, spending 2.5 seasons with the Texas Stars. He can put up numbers at a really high level. Down the middle I have Jamie Arniel. This player seems like a right-shot version of Joey Martin. That kind of undersized, pass first, but can score, two-way center. He can play all situations, and I expect him to be a point-per-game player, whilst being responsible in his own end, and trusted to eat a lot of minutes. I love the Devils' top 2 centers. Rounding out the top 6, I have Justin Crandall on right wing. He had a down year last season, but I think his whole line did. But there is a reason the Devils brought Crandall back, whilst Reed and Koffler walked. They believe in this guy to have a bounce back. And with his pass first, playmaking ability, I don't see why Arniel and Ulley won't be enjoying themselves. However, if he does struggle or doesn't find chemistry with those guys, I could see him move to the third line, which could be a good option too with Waller. Speaking of Josh Waller, let's talk about the third line. I love his speed, and his shot, but I am waiting for him to break out as that complete scoring threat. He needs to start finding offense from different situations, not just off the rush breakaways. He needs guys who can create some space, and feed him the puck, and he needs to take that next step this season. Perhaps the third line center Tyler Bush can create him that space. Bush is that physical center, providing that net front presence, and banging home rebounds. Or simply put, Josh Britton replacement. To be honest, this is my first concern of the forward group. I would have liked to have seen a more dynamic player at this spot. Although he can provide that net front presence, perhaps even on the power play at times, I think he is a bit of a one-dimensional forward. Is he an improvement on Britton? Interested to get the fans' thoughts. Rounding out the top 9, we have Ryan Barrow. Many think he is top 6 material, and I won't argue with that, however I have him on the third for now. If Bush and Barrow can create that crash and bang line, and create space for Waller, this line could work. On the other hand, he could add that power forward dynamic to the second line. But let's not forget about Barrow's offense. We saw what he can do in Manchester, posting 14 goals in 38 games. He should be good for at least 20 to 25 goals in a full season, right? The fourth line will likely be some combination of Brandt, Davis, Duggan, and Pietrangelo. We know about Davis and Duggan. They are great on the penalty kill, and have that speed to occasionally pot some goals here and there. I love those two guys on the fourth line, and Duggan has really improved his all-round game, bringing some physicality at times. I think all the Brits will thrive under a guy who knows them well in Pete Russell. Riley Brandt is what he is going to hit, bring that energy to the lineup as a good forechecking forward. No problem with that depth. And lastly, Chad Pietrangelo returns. We saw so little of him last season, I am not sure what to expect, but I think he is a guy that can jump up into the top 9 role, and also provides cover on the blue line if injuries occur. Could we see a situation where Pietrangelo jumps onto defense, and Mosey joins the forward group? This signing gives the team versatility. So that is the roster ahead of the 2023-2024 season. For me personally, I have them finishing 4th in the league standings again, and they have the ability to surprise in the cup and playoff competitions. I still think this team is solid, and I still see them as a top 4 team in the league, but this roster construction does leave me with a lot of questions. I don't know if they did enough to address the issues of last year. Has the goaltending improved on last season? I have no doubt that the defensive core will be able to move the puck. But can they shut teams down? Can they find consistent depth scoring, outside of the top 6? Can Pete Russell get this team to the next level? I don't doubt for a second that this team will be competitive, but I am not sure they have what it takes to win hardware this season. I have them 4th in the league. But Devils fans, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this team going into next season? Do they have what it takes to win? What do you like about the roster? And what are your concerns? As always, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.